Hey, what's going on? You're all very welcome to episode 79 of Buckshot for Friday the 12th. Is it the fuck? Yeah, it is the 12th of... By Jesus Christ, lads. It's the 12th of October, 2018. Howden the Jizari. First, out the gate. You'll probably notice that I'm back recording on the other little device, the other Zoom H2, simply because I'm up to me bollocks. And I'm quite literally parked about 100 yards up the road from the International Comedy Club, where I'm performing this evening, or last night, as per you'll hear this, and I'm performing tonight, actually, and tomorrow night. Twice. So it was just, you buy all this fucking gear, and you still have to record in the car. It's the only handy place I could actually do the old intro. But I do want to apologise, because I've been getting the odd message, like, lads are loving, fair play, like, and this is Patreon people too, who's slung a couple of dollars at the old cause. The new sound gear, it's been very quiet, too quiet. So I think that's down to two things, right? So bear with me. I think it's down to two things. Now, I recorded today's episode on Tuesday. So the knowing of what's going on with the new gear. See, this is what we're doing, lads. This is what we're doing. You appreciate the fact that I don't know fuck all about tech and all the rest of it. I know how to talk and all the rest of it. And there's been approaches from crowds, and, you know, who'll take that all out of your hands, and, you know, they'll do all the techie stuff and you just speak into the mic, which, you know what, there's a lot of merits to be said for it, but at the same time, I like that we're doing this on our own. And we'll get there. We'll get there. I think it's two factors. I think, one, I have the setting slightly wrong, but two, I wasn't getting the guest, like Jerry. People fucking love Jerry anyway, but I wasn't getting him to hold it to his fucking mouth right. You know what I mean? Because his mics, they're what they call dynamic mics. Here, sure, look at, listen to me, like I know what I'm fucking talking about. Essentially, you got to hold the thing right into your grill. So that will definitely be changed. And also, for next week's guests, I say guests, I don't know if we're going to bang out another two, but we should have a guest or two anyway next week. But I'm meeting with the man himself, who's basically those conspiracy guys, fucking legend, Gordon Rochford, Gordo. Meeting with him tomorrow evening before I go into the early show. Or I'll probably meet him between the early show and the late show. We'll sit down somewhere quiet, and he's going to talk me through the fucking do's and don'ts and what the settings need to be for podcast recording, because he knows the gear intimately. Well, not intimately, it sounds like he fucking rode the oak. Some people are really into fucking gear, I guess. Maybe is that a thing, I wonder? Do you know the way, like, you see these weirdos, like, who are in love with their cars and stuff and actually try and ride the exhaust pipe and stuff like that. I wonder, is there people, like, into tech? You know, even down to, like, podcast machines and stuff like that they try and get up on the fucking yoke. Actually, here, lads, this has gone fucking sideways already. Easy knowing that I'm about to go in and talk obscenities to strangers. That I'm shooting my mouth off with this kind of stuff. But so, bear with me. Podcasterinos. It'll all be fucking sorted. Don't worry. We'll get her sorted. And nobody's complaining. They're going, fair play. The new gear sounds great. It's just on a bit on the low side, Tom. And this is, see, I love that shit. Nobody's going, hey, what the fuck is going on? It's, you know, and it's not even the Patreons. You know what I mean? It's not, the Patreons are going, yeah, listen, I understand. We're at the ground level of this yoke, and we're trying to help the brother out. We appreciate that you're pumping out content every week, and that segues nicely into the fact that if you haven't donated to the old Patreon, give it a fucking gander. Think about it. You don't have to pay monthly if you don't want to. You don't have to sign up to the monthly thing. If you do, that'll be absolutely fucking outstanding. But you can throw as little as fucking $2. You can throw at the podcast, and this kind of gets me to pump up. Like, people seem to be very happy to the fact that there's 3 podcasts after going out this week: the Ramble Pod, the one with Jerry, and today's one. You know what I mean? Wouldn't it be fucking class to be pumping out something like that 3 or 4 times a week? Fucking hell. I could talk for Ireland. And people want to fuck the radio. Listen to podcasts. So if you have any consideration towards this old podcast and you like it fucking to keep it going, and you want the gear to fucking to do the biz, because essentially the gear got bought as a result of the Patreon people. And like that, I did the live one. Live one actually had people watching and interacting and all the rest of it, the live Ramble Pod. So I'm going to be more... I had no idea. To be honest, I didn't even know that people were going to watch live. Do you know that kind of way? I just thought 2 people and his dog were going to watch. But a good gang of people actually joined in and were contributing to it. Some people didn't know what the fuck was going on. But I'm going to do the same again next Tuesday night. Keep an eye on the old Instagram. I'll post just a live video which alerts you that I'm going live on YouTube. Listen to me like I know what I'm fucking talking about. Also, we did, for the crack from the Laughter Lounge, we filmed it live on Instagram. So I'll do the same again next week. So if you do follow me on Instagram, keep an eye out for it. I know some people are in work and all the rest of it, but you look at, we will be eventually, with an association with the Laughter Lounge, we will be recording them properly, with a decent now fucking setup in the fucking lounge. We're better to fucking do it. So, also, I just need to tell you about the Tea Republic shop, where you can get all the gear in relation to the podcast. There's a couple other bits I need to sit down and throw up, but like that, listen, wait, have a look at just even go to my website and you'll see why in the next week or so. And that's just live comedy club gigs, not the corporate shit. Holy sweet mother of Jesus, it's going to be crazy. But if you do fancy it, but like I said, I'm busy, but November does free up a bit during the week. So I'm going to get more stuff up on the Tea Republic shop and the way of logos and stuff like that, just from other gigs. Cool shit that not me, I didn't design, but cool people on behalf of me designed. So I'm going to get that up on the Tea Republic shop. Give it a look. I'll put the link in the description of the old podcast. Some cool shit. The design, I really love the buckshot design, and a lot of people have bought it on mugs, and even some people have bought it on cushions, which kind of creeps me out a little bit, but I like it. Fuck it, I like it. Keep me on my toes. So in keep with that, like I said, I'm going to be gigging tonight in the International, tomorrow night twice. A couple of podcast listeners are apparently coming to tonight's show, or last night's show, as per you're hearing this. And I will be down in Cork City Limits next week, but I'll talk about that on the Ramble Pod. I'm going to be there on Saturday night, and then all hell breaks loose the following week with in the run-up to the Vodafone Comedy Carnival. I'm going to be in every province, so there'll be no excuses if you want to pop along. Like that, I'll put the link in the description again, but go to TomO'Mahony/gigs if you want to give it a fucking gander. I had some people on to me asking why I didn't talk about the Khabib and Conor fight. 'Cause I don't give that much of a bollocks. Who gives a fuck? Bunch of lads started lashing the heads off each other at a competition where people lash the head off each other. So what? He tried to fuck a trolley through a fucking bus window. So what? It's hard to get shocked at this stage. I mean, it's turning into the WWE, you know what I mean? I was at the night, I talked about it on the podcast, I was at the night where he came pegging into the 3 Arena and jumped over the fucking cage. If I ever have him on the podcast, I'll bring it up. So that's all I have to say about that. Now, I do need the help from the podcast arenas. Anybody out west, I told you I'm going cooking a big ass barbecue for like 60 or 70 people over the weekend of the Vodafone Comedy Carnival, which is like the 26th through the 29th, I think. And I need to get my hands on a good sized charcoal barbecue. Any of the fucking catering crowd I'm talking to, it's only fucking gas. I don't want, like, it will come down and I'll do it in gas, but I don't want to do it in gas. So if anybody knows of a big ass barbecue we can hire for half a fucking day, major shout out on the podcast a whole lot. We'll fucking pay for it too. So if anybody knows of a charcoal barbecue renting company out west, i.e. especially in Galway. Did I just say Galway like a fucking American? Apologies to any of the American listeners, but that's wrong. So, like I said, anybody knows of a charcoal barbecue that can be hired, a decent sized one, a good sized fucking one now, that can be hired for the day, really. For Saturday the 27th. Myself and Phil Jupiters are going to be cooking up a fucking storm. I'd be greatly appreciated. Please hit up the old fucking podcast. You enjoyed the Jerry one. Fair play to you. You enjoyed the Jerry one. It was a good one. I talked a bit more about holidays, but I've plenty more to talk about on the old Ramble Pod next week. People enjoyed the old flutes out story and tits and fucking fannies all over the fucking place, and my poor all shocked at everything. People immediately were going, when the fuck is the Tom and Jerry show coming back? It will be coming back. I promise you it will be coming back. I know I have the episodes on file. So to the Patreon customers, to the Patreon people, if you want to listen back, I'm going to put them up only for the Patreon people. I'm going to put up the Tom and Jerry show podcast, all the episodes. But like I said, it'll only be available to the Patreon folk. And there you have it. Today's guest. Jesus, I waffled on for a long time there, nearly 11 minutes. Today's guest. I was telling you he was a big enough name, and he didn't disappoint. We recorded over in Galway, in the Maldron Hotel. Anybody followed again on the Instagram stories, you had a fair idea that I hired out a fucking room and everything, lads. Cheap as chips, but it was fucking well worth it. He's an absolute legend. I've worked with him a few times on kind of corporate stuff like that, hosting and things like that. We never really got into a good conversation, bits and pieces, but I knew he'd be good fucking crack. And he's fantastic value for money. Holy shit, like, just, the man, we could have had a 4-hour conversation. He's done it all. He's done it all. He pulled us out of the fucking dark ages when we were in the dark ages when it came to rugby. But just a very fucking interesting film. We had some light-hearted stuff as well, but very informative stuff. So even if you're not into rugby, you're going to enjoy this one. If you're not into sport, you'll still... It gives a good insight into how a fella can revolutionise a fucking thing. You know what I mean? So for now, enjoy the very brilliant Eddie O'Sullivan. Thanks very much for popping in.
Yeah.
Fucking hell, fair play to you. You're flat out as well.
Yes, yeah, this time of the year with the old locking on the rugby, and I'm, mainly doing media work now. Thanks be to God, it's a lot less stressful. But yeah, it's kept going, and kind of you're busy around the weekends, like you're flying around the weekends, and then during the week you get to take a breath, and off you go again then. But I love it, like, it's great crack.
Are you with you're with Air Sport now?
I'm working with Air Sport, yeah, but I still do a little bit of work with RTE. I'm going to do the Autumn Internationals with RTE.
Brilliant.
And I do a regular column with the London Times Irish edition.
Yeah.
Comes out every Monday. And like in busy times, maybe coming up to the All Blacks, you might do 2 columns a week,
Okay, nice.
Yeah, it's good. It's good because I kind of come at a different angle. Like, I don't do match reports, like, because, and the interesting for me is probably more than interesting, it's kind of trickier, is that we'll say, like, I did a piece, we'll say on the Leinster-Munster game on the weekend, but my piece is for Monday, so like that's beaten to death on Sunday in all the papers. So I've come up with another angle on it, which is great. Makes you think around the thing, makes you step back a bit, and I kind of look at it from a coach's perspective. But so it makes for me an interesting way to go about it. I'm not doing a match report, or I'm not. Everyone knows what happened in the game. So when you read my piece on Monday, you're trying to find out stuff that maybe didn't cross your mind. So that's my challenge. Yeah,
but I suppose you're going to be appreciated nearly more because there's times when you're kind of reading, and I won't name them, but you're kind of going, well, I appreciate what you're saying there, but what the fuck would you know about it, like?
Well, I think what, like, of course, the whole newspaper, mainstream media stuff is all over the shop, like, because I don't know anyone under the age of 40 buys a newspaper anymore. That's a problem for the newspapers. So, and then, of course, everyone's a publisher, like, as we know, you can be publisher overnight. Twitter is the greatest.
We're publishing right here.
Yeah, and Twitter is the greatest publication of all time.
Oh, yeah.
So, but what I think is the danger is, like, people want to know something they didn't know. That when they started out the piece, like, and the thing about match reports is, like, people read match reports because they might glean some bit of extra information, but, like, the score, who scored, when they scored.
Yeah.
Like, you don't read match reports to find out what happened in the game. You use Sky Plus or something to find that out. So what I'm trying to do is bring information to people that wouldn't have crossed their minds, like, you mightn't have figured in what was going on, and there was a lot of controversy in the weekend over the referee and stuff like that,
Jesus, yeah.
So, like, it was kind of trying to explain that to people, how he got himself in that pickle,
I wouldn't read the match report because I've watched the match or whatever, but I am a total nerd that ESPN now will actually put up all the stats within, and that's...
You can drown in stats as well, you see.
You can,
and like, again, stats I'm a stats guy, like, but I'd be very cautious that, like, you can make people's heads explode with too much information.
Well, sure, the weekend, if you read the stats, you think Munster won.
Yeah. They did everything but the scoreboard. They got more tries, they had more possession, more territory. But, and the refereeing thing was a, like, big talking point. And he's a restricted referee. He's a penchant for getting himself in tight spots as a referee. And before the game, I hope he doesn't have one of his days, but unfortunately I was wrong,
And is there a platform where you say from your time, like, what is there a platform where you can turn around and go, here, I need to have a word with this fella, like, or are you only drawing more trouble on yourself, like?
You can have a word in a sense with him after. You can ask him what he was thinking. I used to do a thing actually, which I don't know was good or bad in the long run, and I'm not sure where it got me in or out of more trouble, is that I used to do an analysis on every referee before we played them.
Right.
But that was smart enough because we needed to know how every referee is different.
Yeah.
Like, some referees are big on offside. Like, they're watching offside all day. So if you're careless on the offside line, you get pounded. Other referees are big on players not rolling away at the ruck, you know. So you get to know the referee's style.
Yeah.
They're only small things, but like 3 points in front of the post in the last minute is a big thing when it happens. So you're always trying to manage the referee. And we used to have meetings with referees, but they were kind of a waste of time because everyone said the same thing every week and they did something else on the field. But what I used to do afterwards, which was kind of, I don't know if coaches do it, I used to do it anyway, for good or for bad, is I used to do an analysis of the referee. Yeah. Now, it wasn't just like, oh, he missed this or he made that mistake. I would actually, my video analyst would analyse the game. We'd go through it and we'd say the things he did well.
Yeah.
And then we'd say the things he thought he didn't do well, or if we had questions, and I used to send them off to the head of refereeing, like the time was Paddy O'Brien.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I'm sure he used to hate to see my name in his inbox, but in fairness, it was good because like I would say the referee did a really good job at the ruck. We're really happy with that. And is there anything that you could add to that to make us better at it? Like, you're trying to get better. The key about you want to go out every week and get in the wrong side of referee, like, that's a bad outcome for you.
Yeah, yeah.
And he's never wrong. So the sooner you realise that, the better. But then I would say, like, you know, there was a call there. Can you explain what the thinking was there? Or you know, could it have been the other way around? And you usually get feedback saying, oh yeah, the referee made a mistake there. He should have called it the other way. Not going to change it.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it was a good or a bad thing, but I used to always do that after every test game. Same in America. So I think it might have helped in that referees knew when they refereed your team that you were kind of keeping a close eye on what was going on, you know. And I think for that reason, for Ireland, like, we had a huge reputation for years as an Irish rugby team of being offside and killing the ball at the ruck. You know, that was kind of our MO. We were like a 15-man wrecking crew. Irish rugby was a bit like that, you know, like we used to just tear into teams and upset them, and if we got them on the run, we'd beat them, you know. Which in the professional game isn't going to fly.
It kind of makes you just a slugger of a
strategic than that. But, you know, and I remember back in the day, and it was a perception rather than a reality, but it was a perception that we liked the rain as well, you know. If England came to look out, hope it's raining. Like, now those days are long, long gone, thanks be to God. But one of the problems with it at early days, like in the early noughties, that referees had a headset that Ireland were spoilers. They were killing the ball at the ruck and they were offside every chance they got it. It wasn't that it was just in the back of their heads, and you tended to pick up penalties, you know. I found engagement referees and basically doing your homework and giving feedback and pounding the players for doing stupid stuff, like that we were able to get our penalty counts way down, and referees then changed our headset, and they saw us as a team who were trying to play and not spoil. That was a very subtle but very important thing for us. And like, our penalty rates dropped in the noughties down to like 6-7 penalties a game, which is pretty good. If you stay under 10, if you get into double figures, you're in trouble. But I remember in a couple of games we were down to 4. And even now, like Ireland, they went through a period there in the last couple of years, they've been down to 4 and 5 penalties a game, because that's obviously Joe Schmidt's big on that as well.
So
it's partly the coach's job, partly the player's job, partly the referee's job. But it's everybody having a good headset of what's going on. But I think the whole thinking on Ireland now is the team that tries to play. They're not out spoiling or killing the ball or offside. And we had that kind of like give a dog a bad name tag for years. And we had to work on it to get rid of it, and we did. We got rid of it in the noughties, and it doesn't exist anymore, which was a good thing.
Do you think there was a period there where I was kind of going, some of these referees are getting a bit bigger than they probably need to be, almost ego-wise. There's one or two of them there, you're going, here, you know.
Yeah, I think like the last place a referee should be a centre stage.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if you're talking about a referee after a game, he's had a bad day. And most referees don't go out to have a bad day, let's be honest. They're all trying to do a good job. And I say as well, like, in fairness, referees, it's a terribly difficult game to referee. Rugby has got incredibly technical, incredibly fast, incredibly physical, a lot of stuff going on. And World Rugby are kind of older in their thinking. They want one referee on the field. Like, if you look at basketball, like, in an average schoolboy basketball game, you could have 2 referees. Well, you think of a game of rugby, you have 1 referee in a professional game. The NFL, they have about 6 referees, and they still get it wrong. But the World Rugby think that the referee, one man in the middle, making decisions, or woman, no, making the decisions, and you live and die by that. But the game has got so technical and tactical and fast, it's almost impossible. So now they've had the assistant referees. They're not touch judges anymore. They're assistant referees, and they're wired up, and they're trying to help So they are trying to address it, but I actually think the long run they're going to have to think about a second referee on the field, because in what they do in basketball, and I used to coach basketball in school, they have a lead and a trail ref. And the lead referee watches certain things and the trail ref watches other things. So it's not like they're watching everything. They split their duties. Now, it doesn't mean you can't make a call if you see something. But you're actually focused. So like if you're the trail referee in rugby, maybe they're watching the offside lines. And then the lead referee is watching the ruck. But the moment you have a referee trying to watch the offside lines and watch the ruck, and then watch everything else that's going on around that, the type of clean out, did he use his arms or around his neck? There's like a mirror. So I think referees have a tough job.
Because they did it,
and they're scrutinised to death.
They did it in rugby league, didn't they? Where there was a period there where they had just like that. As the play would move forward, he'd go in behind
I can't comment on rugby league. Actually.
Yeah, I know.
I know nothing about it. But I would think rugby league is a much easier game to referee.
Of course it is.
Because there's no continuity. Like once the tackle goes in, the game stops. Everyone backs off, and you start again. Whereas rugby union, the beauty of rugby union is continuity. Like you're 20 phases. Which is a whole new thing as well. If you think about it, like when I played 30 odd years ago, if you had 3 phases, there'd be nobody in front of you. Like there'd be no defenders left.
You were gone.
There was no phase rugby was nobody knew what phases meant. Now you see 20 phases. Even in club rugby, you've got 20, 30 phases.
Club rugby is seriously looks good these days.
It is because it's probably struggling because it's the one area of the game that the RFU have never really got their arms around. It's kind of that intersectional point between the amateur game and the professional game.
Is it that because rugby is such a business now that you just can't keep an eye on it?
No, it's not that. I think they made a strategic decision back in the 90s, which I think was a bad one, that they felt the way forward for rugby in Ireland. Now, we have a very unique system in Ireland. Like, we've a Southern Hemisphere system where we've 4 professional teams, centrally contracted, run by the RFU. Fantastic idea. It's worked really well. Actually,
everybody's jealous of us, really.
Absolutely, 100%. Like, if they had that their way if the RFU had it their way in England, they'd do it that way, but that horse has left the stable and gone. France, the same. Even Wales are trying to put the toothpaste back in the tube a bit, like trying to get control of the districts, but it's a battle royal. So we have pretty much the best system in the Northern Hemisphere. In terms of we control the players, we control everything. But I suppose the club game has always been that little bit of a kind of I suppose the fly in the ointment, because they made a decision that strategically they had to really fast track players through the academies, to get them into professional game, and that's the right thing. So look at the young players we've now. Like the academies now are in full flow. Like you see fellas like James Ryan, Jordan Larimer coming out of literally playing school 3 or 4 years ago. They're playing international.
Freaks,
like I coached the under 20s back in 20 years ago, Irish under 20s, and the lads would come in and they look like fellas who just got out of school.
Right,
They look like under 20s.
Yeah.
Like I was down in Donnybrook there during the Six Nations, and Ireland were playing Italy, and we were on the side of the pitch, and like some
the under 20s.
Yeah, the under 20s. They're huge. They're like full-time professionals. They're massive. So the academy system is working, but then where do these guys, if they're not playing for Leinster, because they don't play for Leinster every weekend, or they won't play for Munster, where do they go? And there's a lot of the time they don't do anything. They don't play a lot of rugby. They spend a lot of time in the gym. There's nothing wrong with that. They spend a lot of time training physically, training mentally. But, you can't beat the old College of Hard Knocks, like, which should be the IEL. But the problem then with the IEL is some of the clubs are against that because they feel a professional player coming out on a Saturday playing against an amateur player.
He's a ringer, like.
There's a risk in that as well.
Yeah.
So it's not an easy path to tread, but they do need to, because the club game is still the grassroots game.
Of course,
And it was a time when the club game was the only show in town. Like I remember coaching Blackrock in the 90s, and the AIL, as they called it then, was huge.
Sure, it was the only thing we
the
were.
Only show in
school,
town.
I had no interest in Munster.
I remember
it was going to play for Shannon. That's all
I
wanted.
remember Blackrock, we went to play Shannon in Town Park in a Division 1 AIL match, and I think there was like 7,000 people out.
I believe it,
It was packed, because we were going well and they were going well. It was a humdinger of a game. But you would have had internationals on both club sides. We had 5 or 6 internationals playing with Blackrock. Shannon had 5 or 6 internationals. I remember even when I became Irish coach, I remember Gervin Dempsey was coming back from injury one time and going with Don Lennon to see Terran York play, and within 2 weeks he was playing Twickenham. You know what I mean? Think about it.
Yeah.
So the club game at that stage was very much an intermeshed professional game. But as you'd expect, when things move on, professional game ramps up, there was a gap appeared.
Yeah.
And The problem is, though, that rugby is still a grassroots game. But at that time, when the halcyon days of the AIL, when it was the real deal, I remember, again, Blackrock playing Young Munsters live on Sky Sports on a Saturday afternoon. Like,
was it?
Went out all over Britain and Ireland, yeah. Absolutely, 100%. They had a studio on the corner at Blackrock. There was about 5,000 people at the game, and they had the analysis and everything. It was a whole, like the full Sky Sports deal. There was 12 cameras.
Jesus.
Yeah, it was unreal. I mean, you had all the Sky Sports production team, and they came in on a Tuesday and they did pre-match interviews with everybody. It's a whole production, like they still do. But that was an AIL match.
Yes, right.
But that's back, I think it's definitely bones of 23 or 44 years ago.
Right.
But, so like, the clubs then, when the game moved professionally to the provinces, the clubs hung in there and tried to make it work, but basically it was a slow decline. And so a lot of clubs got into financial trouble.
Of course, yeah.
They couldn't sustain what they were at. And then the club game now, and let's be honest, the money went to the professional game, and so did the punters. Yeah. You know, and the reality of it is that, look, like you take the team with the best support in Europe is Leinster. They have the most supporters. Like, best way, be careful how I say that. But most supporters, because it's a capital city and they've got a huge support base. But if you were, say, into Aviva for the Leinster game, there was 40-something thousand people.
46,000.
How many of those people have seen a club match?
Not. Come here. Have you sat amongst some of the dickheads that'll be at it? Because a lot of it is to say you're at it.
They have no identity other than Leinster. No, there's nothing wrong with that. But that means the club game, like, is kind of melting away.
Yeah.
And as well, you have the people who play the club game now are usually young fellas just out of school. Yeah. Some of them on the path, I think they might get into an academy. Some of them playing, but it's for the fun of it. Yeah. There's this kind of like, I was involved with Old Belvedere last year, and it's a fantastic club, really, and great. I know some of the guys in the club, because I've been a coach, and I've played with some of them, and they're fantastic guys, and this club itself is very well run, and the players, great bunch of lads. But rugby is a pastime. Like, fellas come and say, look, I can't play next weekend. They got tickets to the Red Hot Chili Peppers, you know. There you go.
What do you do?
What do you do? And I've got to go. I won't be training for the next 2 weeks. I'm going off skiing. You know, stuff happens, or you know, and some of the Alec-Adoos find it frustrating because they're probably more committed than some of the players.
Of course,
it's a big part of their life. They have the blazer. Social dimension. Yeah. But that's rugby. Now, some clubs take it a bit more seriously than that. Yeah. Like, you know, and they are the teams that are at the top of Division 1A. You know, like the Corkans or the Lansdownes, or you know, like they're clubs that are there. But you'd find with them then that they probably have a core of players who've come out of a very good schools program.
Yes,
or fellas who were playing professionally before and then went out of professionals but wanted to play on the club.
Yeah.
And that standard's pretty good. But it's tough going for clubs. It's very hard kind of every year kind of stay competitive, you know, and you're still, all the work they put in, you're getting 150, 200 people to a game. Yeah. It's hard work, but it's not, they do, like, clubs function out of a passion for the game. It's not over anything else, which it have to be.
So the jump really is just schools and professional, that's it?
Some of the schools in, certainly the big schools in Dublin, spend a lot of money on their programs.
To do a course, yeah.
Big money, yeah.
You don't produce beasts out the other end for free.
Yeah, serious money, like you're talking about hundreds of thousands.
Jesus Christ. But to jump back, because we only found out because we were on a hosting thing during the European Cup last year. Yeah. And by pure fluke, in another lifetime, you could have been a school teacher of mine. You were in St. Ailbe's. You were in the Tech in Tipperary.
I was. I had a sojourn there as a... I remember, it's funny how things happen. I remember I left college and...
Were you in Limerick?
Yeah, it was Thomond, now it's UL.
Oh, right, yeah.
And I had a job option to go work actually in St. Clement's College in Limerick as a PE teacher. Right. Turns out a very good friend of mine got that job. But I turned it down because I was very friendly with Tony Ward, and he was opening a sports shop in Limerick. Oh, yeah, and he'd had opened, and then he was opening a gym over, so he asked me would I manage a gym, because I was very interested in strength and conditioning at that time as well. I mean, I did the strength and conditioning.
Was anybody interested? Well, you must have been one of the few lads who were thinking
I was that way. I did strength and conditioning for the Irish rugby team, the 91 World Cup.
Right.
That's
long before your time as actually coming in as coach.
Yeah, it was because back then, like, it was convincing guys to lift weights because they all thought that to make them slower. Like, amazingly, they thought lifting weights to make you slower. Right. And the other myth was that when you stop training, all the muscle turned into fat.
Oh yeah.
They were actually, those things were believed. Like people tell you, you get too strong, you won't be able to run fast. You get muscle bound is a great one.
Oh, muscle, yeah.
It's insane. Now you're only going back 30 years. That's how far behind. But anyway, I was to run that gym, and between the jigs and the reels, anyway, it didn't work out, and I was kind of at a loose end, and I got a part-time job in vocational school in Tiptown. So I spent 6 months there teaching.
Right.
Yeah.
What was Tiptown like back in the 80s?
It's a good town. It was great fun there, actually. Yeah.
Was it?
It was a young staff. We used to go out and enjoy ourselves a good bit. So it was a good place to cut my teeth. With great crack.
Yeah, I remember we did a teacher. I think he would have been there around your time too, Donny Cullen.
I know, I remember Donny well, yeah.
And Donny, Donny would straight out, Donny allowed us to call him Donny. Do you know what I mean? He was that way inclined, but at the same time you felt if you mouthed it off at Donny, you might get a crack in the jaw. Like he didn't carry himself like the other teachers. He carried himself like a bloke. But it was a good school in the sense that it was full of energy. It was young staff in it, and obviously, I enjoyed it there. But then I couldn't. There was a full-time job going there, but there was all sorts of complications back then. The Department of Education with a care test, this exam to teach in the vocational schools, an Irish exam to teach you to do. And of course, I hadn't it done, Yeah. What would you do an Irish exam you didn't have to do? When you were in college, who would be mad enough to take a day out to do an Irish exam that you didn't have to do? So anyway, you went then from, what was your first coaching gig that you coached?
Oh, yeah, I was playing rugby in Garryowen at the time.
You were fly half, were you?
Well, I was a winger, really.
Were you?
Well, I was a fly half right through growing up playing in Youghal. I played underage in Youghal. I never played schools rugby.
Right.
I
club rugby.
I went to CBS in Youghal and they didn't have any rugby. It was like
GA school, yeah.
In fact, I got banned once when I was a kid.
Did you?
I played a soccer match on a Sunday in Lismore. I was under 12s. And I came in the next day into school and I was brought into the principal's office. And the principal said to me, he said, "Did you play a soccer match yesterday for Youghal?" I said, "I did. It was down in Lismore." I was all happy. He says, "I have bad news for you. You're banned from the school leagues."
What?
Yeah, I was banned from the school leagues.
For playing soccer?
Playing soccer on a Sunday. I was banned on Monday. The old ban was still in vogue then.
Cutthroat of... But I remember we started a rugby team when I was in 6th year in the Tech because our principal at the time was driven and he moved on when I was in 6th year and Quinny came in and trained us.
Yeah.
And we had a cracking team because Galbly, Kilfeacle and Clanwilliam were all going to that school.
A lot of lads have been playing underage rugby.
We were all playing but we are bound together with the 3 clubs, and there was 1 or 2 lads from Cashel even were in our school.
Really?
So, and we went out and we demolished everybody.
Yeah,
went on and won the thing and everything but it was hilarious. I brought a couple of lads in who were big football lads, but they're all 6'1" and 6'2", but could move like wingers.
Oh yeah.
And I remember this would be 99. A fella disguising his voice on the parents' phone, talking to the old lad, just saying, "Here, you want to cut that out, bring your lads over to play that old foreign sport." And it's hilarious what Heineken does. 2 years later, them same fellas are all experts in rugby then, you know what I mean?
That's, even I remember one of my first coaching gig was I was playing with Garryowen and I was on the Munster squad and I was at home. I was living where I'm living now in County Galway, out in Moyloch, and I was knocking at the door one night and the fellow said, "Got Pádraig McGann, who's a famous Monavea rugby guy. He's been involved in Monavea rugby for years, great guy. And he had a mini rugby program going up in Monavea, and he says to me, "Would you help me out with a bit of coaching?" And I said, "When is it?" And he says, "Saturday mornings, And I said, "Well, I don't know, I'm playing in Limerick, but it used to work out that if we had a home game in Garryowen, I could get down in time after mini rugby."
Right.
And I remember my first day, I arrived up there, and at the time, they were grand pitch now, but back then they were up a hill. So the pitch was like a golf course, it was up and down. And I remember I walked onto the pitch and he was there and there was no kids in sight.
Right.
I said, "Just how to be the train?" He says, "Oh, they'll be here in a minute." And these 2 old buses, the old buses used to be imported from England. Ones, 2 of those pulled up and they just emptied out kids the barbarian hordes, ran over the hill to meet me. And he handed me a bag of balls and another fertilizer bag with a load of 2x1s in it. He said, "Off you go." So I had 120 kids on my own.
Off you go.
My first coaching experience, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I asked him, could he get me 2 border collies? Could I keep everybody under control?
A big stick.
1 man and his dog. That's the only chance I had. So I used to do that on the Saturday morning. Then he asked me would I do a bit of coaching with this first team. So I started coaching the first team in Monavea, and I coached you under a then I got involved in that. You know, I was playing away at the time, so it worked around when I was playing. So that was my first coaching gig. That's way back.
Bag of sticks. I'd love to.
But I was a PE teacher, so like coaching was only natural, like, and I enjoyed it. And like I'll tell you, if you can keep 120 kids interested for an hour with a bag of 2x1s and 7 or 8 balls, it's a good start to your coaching career.
Of course it is, yeah.
You can probably manage most things after that.
I'm getting cold sweats just the thought of that.
Yeah.
But and you then you went on. Who'd you coach then? Obviously, you were coaching the senior team in Monterey. Was it that you just started getting interest, started looking for jobs, or was it here, Eddie?
Well, it's funny. I was playing and I was coaching a bit of this, a bit of that, like, and the coaching, like, the playing was amateur and the coaching was amateur. Everything was amateur, but it was kept me busy. So around 1988, I was asked to help out with a Munster branch coaching course.
Right.
So the word had spread. I was doing a bit of coaching, like, by, you know, rugby's a small community, and I was invited to help out the annual Munster branch coaching course for coaches. So I went down to that, and I remember Tommy Kiernan was at it. He was the president at the time, and I knew Tommy because, like, I'd play with Gary Owen, and he was involved in the cons. He knew me, and he came to me after the coaching course. He said, "There's a job going on the RFU." He said, "Would you be interested in it?"
Lovely.
And so I said, "Well, I don't know, but like, I'm teaching that." So long story short, I interviewed for a job as a development officer, and I was able to get a career break from teaching. So that was 1988.
Very good.
I took a career break then from teaching, and I was a development officer. There was 4 of us at the time. There was a fellow called John Murphy had already there. There was a fellow called Declan O'Leary. I was Willie Anderson and myself. Willie, yeah. And I had kind of Sligo down to Nina and into Limerick. That was my region. Yeah,
because I remember Johnny Lacey was a big help, because when he because obviously all the clan boys were going there.
You got a car and a bag of balls and rucking bags and markers, and off you went. You went to schools and clubs, and you were working with coaches and players and kids, like, and it was flat out, like, it was great crack.
Brilliant. And
3 years doing that, like.
And you went 91 then, you strength and conditioning coach for the Ireland team.
Well, when I was with the RFU that time as the development officer, I was very interested in strength and conditioning.
Yeah.
And that time, the whole weights thing was starting. You know, like, people, like, what happened to that triggered the whole thing was that in 1987, the All Blacks won the first World Cup.
Yes.
At a canter. They beat the tar out of everybody because they were so much stronger, faster, fitter. And that started a whole revolution in the game. Even though the game was still amateur.
Yeah.
Everyone's trying to catch up. So I was working for the RFU. I actually wrote a book for them on strength and conditioning for beginners.
Right.
It was given out to all the clubs. And then Kieran Fitzgerald was the under-20s coach at the time with Johnny Maloney, and he asked me to help him. I was a development officer, help him out with as that time, the under-20s as strength and conditioning coach. And I said, yeah, sure, because I was working for the union anyway. It wasn't no biggie. And then when Fitzy became the Irish coach in 1990, he asked me to do that as well. So I ended up doing strength and conditioning for the 1991 World Cup. That was the famous one where Gordon Hamilton scored against Australia. We thought we'd beaten Australia, and then they came back and beat us the last play of the game. You know.
How did America come about then?
Yeah, I left the RFU and I went to in 1991. The RFU didn't have a really good, I would say at the time, career pathway.
Right.
They were afraid that myself and fellas like Willie Anderson and myself would get too old to be on the pitch and they'd be stuck with us, you know. It was, yeah, literally. Like that, we wouldn't be able, like, we'd get these fellas be too old to go out on a wet pitch, and we'd be stuck, like, we'd be like civil servants, like, posting around the office. And they didn't have a plan, really. So I got George Hook came into my life then, because he'd been coaching Connacht.
This is the most amazing.
Yeah, he'd been coaching.
Put you and
Connacht.
George Hook together, like.
Well, in 1989, he was assistant coach to Connacht when they played the All Blacks. He
right.
wasn't a head coach, he was assistant coach. And George had been in America for a few years before that, fostering around, doing a bit of coaching. And so that was 1991, and George was coaching Connacht, and he was coaching over in London Irish as well. Like, he was doing two things, like
George, yeah. Okay.
And he what he wanted to do is he Blackrock College School needed. There was a problem there, is they needed kind of someone to restructure their coaching within the Willow Park and the senior school.
Yeah.
And they also, a lot of the players were leaving the school and not going to Blackrock Club. So trying to build a conduit. So the idea was that I would go in and do some coaching in the club and the school.
Yeah.
And so I did that in 91. I started working in the school and the club. I was assistant in the club, and I was trying to organise, particularly Willow Park. They had like loads of kids, and what happened there was like a lot of the religious schools, the coaches were priests.
Yeah.
And they'd all got to their 70s and 80s.
Yeah.
So there was like a 70-year-old or an 80-year-old coach with 100 kids running around them, so they needed something. So I restructured all that, which was not too difficult. What I did is I basically did a coaching manual, which is skills-based.
Yeah.
And then I got all the former SCT players that were in UCD.
Right.
Came down and we paid them a few bob to coach for an hour. So they were able to take the kids and break them into groups.
Right,
and the priest then was only able to oversee it. He wasn't trying to coach 100 kids. He was only overseeing it.
Fair enough, yeah.
So it kind of set up that system in the school. And I helped in the senior school. I didn't get any control in the senior school. That was more politically difficult.
Right, yeah.
But I was involved with the SCT a little bit and the JCT.
Yeah.
I would have been involved with Leo Cullen that time and Bob Casey and all that. They were all JCT that time, But anyway, so that was Black Rock, and I was doing the club, and that's when the AIL was huge.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So Sky Sports, the club, and then I was also involved in Connacht. So like, how many balls can you juggle on an average?
Yeah, I'm just trying to put this all together.
George was a coach,
right?
Then the wheels came off for George at one stage, and I had to take over. And I took over Connacht.
I loved that analogy. Like they just came off for George.
That's another book.
Yeah.
But look, long story short, then I was involved with Connacht. I was supposed to come back to Connacht. I spent a year coaching Connacht, and I came back because the Blackrock thing had kind of run its course.
Right.
The school wasn't going to change, and I came back to Galway, and I coached Galwegians, and and the idea was that everyone thought that the club game or the professional game was coming in, that Connacht would go professional.
Yeah.
So when they do, I was supposed to be the Connacht coach, but it was like a ridiculous offer of 1 year contract.
Right. What are you supposed to do with that?
And you're paid the same as you would teaching. Now, that's just I gone back teaching. You see, my career break was up.
Yeah, right.
So that was the thing that triggered me back to Galway. My career break was up, and I said, right, I'll go back teaching. And then I was doing Connacht and Galwegians, and sure, like, when the job came for Connacht, I wanted it. Like, I was been involved for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, of course,
stage.
yeah.
And but anyway, long story short, it was a 1 year contract, same salary as I would be as a teacher.
Right.
So I go, lads, come on.
Yeah.
So they wouldn't budge, so I didn't take it. I walked away.
How fast things? Have you seen the new plans for the new? Is it 16,000 seater?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
It's going to be quality. In fairness,
it is. Yeah. It's an overnight success after 30 years.
Yeah. So was George in America then?
He was in America then, and he had set up a coaching program in America where he was coaching coaches. He got a guy to sponsor it, and he got some money from World Rugby, or the IRB at the time. But he needed someone to help him run the clinics. So I helped him set it up at a distance the year before. But then he brought me out one summer, and we did a bit of coaching. And particularly that summer, I finished in Connacht. I went out, and eventually he said to me, "Would you be interested in coming to America to coach?" So there was 2 jobs really. He convinced the head of the coach of the US team, Jack Clark,
right,
to take me on as an assistant. And then I spent the other half of my time working with George, coaching coaches around the country.
All right, okay.
And it was a seasonal work. It was like you were run off your feet for like 6 months, 7 months of the year. Because in the winter, rugby shuts down in America by an hour because most of the country is frozen.
Right.
Unless you're south of the Mason-Dixon line or on the west coast. So so it was a seasonal work. It went like from April right through to September, October, maybe, and the Eagles played as well. They played during the summer. Yeah. So it kind of worked out, and I'd be home for the winter, and I did that. And funnily enough, then the Buccaneers came on stream, so I was out to coach the Bucks in the winter.
Oh yeah. Because I remember, I think it was your book I was reading. I read it back when it came out, but I remember trying to work out how in the Christ is he doing this?
Because the work in America was seasonal.
How can you Skype in your? Can you Skype?
There was no Skype then, by the way.
Right, fair enough.
There was no mobile phones, like.
Right, yeah, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, think about it. Like, mobile phones were a rarity.
Couldn't be tracked down.
Well, I had a mobile phone when I was doing the World Cup in 91. It was like a concrete block. Those ones.
Yeah.
You could talk for 20 minutes and take 2 hours charging it. Or longer. But back then, it was seasonal. So I could do America in the summer between the Eagles and the coaching programs. They ran literally late spring to early autumn. And then I could come home and coach the Bucks in the winter. And I was still only living a half an hour from Buccaneers, so it was great.
That's grand.
So, and it was really interesting because the Bucks were kind of on the rise then. Like, we'd gone from Division 4 to 3 to 2 to 1, in 4 years.
Yeah.
And with some
Bucks in Athlone?
Well,
are they Athlone or Galway?
No, Bucks. The Bucks were basically one of the first clubs in the country to amalgamate at Ballinasloe and Athlone.
Right. Okay.
And they were called the Buccaneers. There's a tradition of, there was a club once called the Buccaneers in that area or something.
All right, okay.
Years. So it wasn't like they pulled it over the air. There was some history to it. But it was basically Athlone and Ballinasloe came together. And we would play some games in Athlone and some games in Ballinasloe.
Like the whole Munster thing with Cork and Limerick, just to keep them all happy.
But, like, we would take the Dublin teams to Ballinasloe because the pitch was smaller and messier. And we'd take the Limerick teams and the Cork teams to Dubarry Park, as it is now.
Right.
But this is when the very infant days. Like, we had Noel Mannion, we had the Rigney brothers.
Oh yeah.
Three Rigneys in the pack: Brian, Desi, and his brother Plugs. Yeah, whoever known as Plugs. But and we had the Twin Towers. We had Jimmy Screen and Joe and Martin Cahill, two props.
Right.
And at that time, some of these guys would have a Connacht as well. You see.
Yeah.
The club game and the professional game were still enmeshed at that time. And we had a good run. Like, we got into Division 1, and the general opinion was we would get relegated.
Yeah.
But we went on a run, like, and we started beating teams. Actually, it started when we were in Division 2. We had a really good run in Division 2. And because we'd come out of Division 4, Division 3, people started getting interested.
Yeah. And
the irony of it all was that the club game was still had purchased at the time, still had traction. The provincial game was fairly infantile. But the catchment area for Athlone is huge, if you think about it. The nearest rugby club to the west of Ballinasloe is Galway City.
Christ.
The nearest club to the south of that Athlone, Ballinasloe is Limerick. The nearest club to the east, you're up into Portlaoise. And then you're up into Roscommon. So we were getting people coming to games to see the Bucks play, because there was a bit of a buzz about it. The underdogs. And the Fields of Athenry, the Bucks started the Fields of Athenry. Of course,
yeah.
That's where it started. We used to sing in the change room after a game if we won. Just before it was sung in Towan Park. and our song in Lansdowne Road, the Fields of Athenry. And I remember the crowd then, I remember one day we won a big game against Lansdowne.
Yeah.
We were like they shouldn't be, Bucks shouldn't be beating Lansdowne.
Of course,
I remember the crowd outside the change room, about 1,000 people singing the Fields of Athenry. It's great.
Yeah, brilliant.
And then RTE covered some of those games.
I remember that. I do remember that because I play underage, like under 14s or whatever, and you come home and you'd be in time to watch the IL match. Then you'd see the pitches, the crowds, it'd be jammers.
It's great, but the Bucks got a bit of a buzz going, and there was a huge catchment area. There was people driving from kind of up in Roscommon, cross into Kinnegad, over down to Portlaoise, because the Rigneys were from Portlaoise.
Of course, yeah.
And then down into North Tip, down into North Galway, and, across over to Tuam, coming into Buccaneers. There was a massive catchment area, an hour circumference or 90-minute circumference. Right. A lot of those people used to come. So we're getting 5,000-6,000 at home games, like.
Really?
And it was very raucous. There was a shed there, and it was like they all got into it, like. It was
gritty, like, yeah. It
was gritty, and we were a team based on a pack of forwards.
Okay.
We didn't have a back line, really. We had a couple of backs, but our strength was up front. We had Noel Mannion, and we had three Rigneys, with the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
And prop, and like we just beat teams to death up front, like, we just pounded the life out of them. The first year in Division 1, we got to the semi-final of the IL.
Jesus.
And we lost down in Cork to Cork Con.
Yeah.
It was a fantastic day out. There must have been about 2,000 travelled from Athlone for it. Like, we had a huge presence on the ground. Lovely sunny day, live on RTE. And they beat us by a whisker. In fairness, Ron O'Gara picked us up with a loop play and scored. He didn't score, but he opened us up and they scored. Ron O'Gara at that stage was just starting to play club rugby.
Only a pub. And what was George like to work alongside?
We got on very well. We were kind of yin and yang,
Yeah.
George was big picture. I was detailed. Like,
okay.
He was the car salesman. I was the mechanic.
I was just thinking he used car salesman style. I think.
So we worked well, like, and we got on well together, and like we used to bang heads at times and that, but. Like anything else, like you're working with someone, you're never going to agree with them all the time. And in America, like it was pretty much hell for leather. Like you're on the road a lot, like, and he didn't like we were in Colorado Springs the officers, he didn't like Colorado Springs. He used to stay more up in Pittsburgh or up in Providence, Rhode Island.
All right, okay.
And I would be in Colorado Springs. So, it was a fair bit of travelling. Like, I mean, the air miles was crazy.
And they come the Ireland job then. I mean, you kind of pulled us out of the dark ages, really. There, like, I mean, was that do you put it down as your strength and conditioning knowledge?
No, it wasn't really. I learned a lot in America about coaching.
Right. Okay.
Because like coaching in rugby is a relatively new thing. Like there was a time when, like there was one coach for one team and that was it.
Right. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
did everything. But there wasn't a lot to do anyway, so like it's worked out pretty well. And even when I was assistant coach for Ireland,
yeah,
we really had two coaches. Myself and head coach. Warren Gatlin was head coach. I was assistant coach.
Yeah.
We used to bring in a guy to do a bit of kicking, but that was it. So the game was changing. I learned in America that like the key to upskilling players professionally was giving as much support you could, and you need specialist coaches, specialist medics. That whole infrastructure around the team is crucial, and also how to analyze opposition, break them down. Like I always believed that the opposition gave you your best game plan.
Of course, yeah.
So you look at the opposition, find out what they hate doing, and make them do it, whether it's with the ball or without it.
Yeah.
But that was kind of, I think players struggled with that initially. I remember Brian Driscoll saying in an interview once, which I was kind of chuffed about it. I don't know whether it was a compliment or not, but he said it was the first coach he met that had a different game plan for every game, for every team. But what you do is you did stuff like, even I remember I used to like innovating. I remember back in Black Rock, we had a very good backline in Black Rock when I was there. We had Elaine Roland, Alan McGowan, Brendan Mullen, Mark Ridge, Jinxie Beggy, Dave Beggy, Niall Woods. There were a lot of internationals and pros, and with a decent enough pack, but their strength was in the backline. And I remember I used to have Alan McGowan, who was the 10. He used to use hand signals to tell Elaine Roland what he wanted to do for the next 3 rucks, and Roland would tell the forwards.
Right.
Verbally.
Okay. Yeah.
So, like the out half would use hand signals,
like baseball.
Yeah, and the scrum half then would verbalise it to the pack. So the packer at the line out, they'd make the line out call, and then Roland would tag on where we were going for the next 3 rucks.
Brilliant.
But that's 25 years ago.
Yeah, but that was streets ahead of everybody else.
Well, it was different, that's for sure. But and I think with Ireland initially, people found it hard that we would have a game plan to play Wales this week.
Yeah.
And then next week, we'd have a different game plan for England.
Was that not done before? Like?
No, not that I'm aware of anyway. And players found it hard. It was tough because it changed a lot of things. But my view was that, if you beat Wales on this, you wouldn't beat England on that. It's changed.
Yeah, of course.
Different team, different demands. Like South Africa, we had pretty good success against South Africa, but because we never took South Africa on head on.
Yeah, because they're monsters.
It's a heavyweight boxing competition, so if you go toe-to-toe with South Africa, you're going to get a bloody nose.
Yeah.
But whereas at the time, if we played Wales, we were much we could dominate Wales physically back in the 90s. Like, we used to go after them physically, like relentlessly.
Yeah.
Knock lumps out of them. And they found it very hard. They'd be on the bus at half time if you got on top of them, But you couldn't do that with England, or you couldn't do that with South Africa. So you had to change. You had to keep moving, and that was probably something that a lot of players found difficult because a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
Like you literally come in on Monday morning after we say you beat Wales, everyone's in a good form. You say, right, now here's the plan for next week. Could be a lot of changes. You might change the shape you're playing. All that's now standard.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, but
and I introduced stuff like our video analysis. We used to code everything a player did.
Okay.
So we had a matrix.
Yeah.
After the game of all their moments in the game, and then they would. That matrix would tell you what kind of a game, how many tackles you made, how many carries.
This is pre-GPS, was it?
Oh, yeah, way before GPS.
So essentially it was the precursor to GPS.
Yeah, it would tell you exactly what you did. Every moment you had a game, whether you were on a ruck and what you did in the ruck, what part you played, whether you had to clean out the combat, the firewall. Did you, your carry, did you win the collision, lose the collision? Your tackle, did you win the collision and tackle? So you could look at the players' numbers across and see how well they played, or how much more work they got.
Yeah.
It was a great one. Was called a cold.
A cold
clean, yeah.
Okay.
A cold clean was when a fella went to a ruck and did nothing. Like, there was 2 things you could do at a ruck. You could do your job.
Yeah.
And if there's no job to do, you shouldn't be there.
Yeah, get out.
Yeah, get into the next one.
Yeah.
So what it, for example, is like if we fellas had 5-6 core cleans a game, which meant they were standing at a ruck like a cow looking over a hedge, you know, doing nothing. Yeah. And so my point is like that's productivity is down. So if you had 5 or 6 guys had 5 or 6 core cleans, that's 30 moments they were doing nothing in the game. So we still really work hard with the players to get that number down. You're never going to have the odd one, but we get players down from 5 or 6 core cleans on average down to 1. So your productivity went up, the number of rucks they were in, the number of carries, and that was all. But the other thing with that was you had this matrix, and it was a number like you have 5 core cleans, like, and you push the button on the laptop, and it shows you a movie of the 5 core cleans. So you could say to a guy, well, hold on a minute, as you were going to that ruck now, what was going through your head? And he was saying, well, I was thinking I needed to clean out. And say, well, did you? No, I didn't. And why'd you stay there? I said, yeah, all right, get into the next one. Or, you know, so he either got there and didn't do his job, or there was no job to do and he stayed there. So he was making guys think. Yeah. So that made guys think that every ruck they had to be in the game, they couldn't fad about. It makes them focus very much so. Same with your passing, your tackling. You know that if you... And a fella might miss a tackle. Tackles get missed, but you could say, like, look, you've missed 3 tackles. Here's the problem. You're letting your foot in the bucket every time. You're not getting your shoulder in the guy. Yeah. And you can fix them. So what guys eventually saw was that, well, look, I can take this here and I can make myself better. I can learn from it. And that's what the coaches would do during the week. They'd sit down with every guy and go through their moments, the defence coach, the skills coach, and help them get better at what they're doing. And then they would know going into a game like, well, they'd set their targets, their goals. I would have 20 rucks today. I'm going to have 10 tackles. And like back rows knew you had to get into double figures on tackles. And then the quality, how many of those tackles can I win the collision? Or not soak tackles. Soak tackles when you lose the collision. So all those terms came in then. And we used to do that. So it became a way of players, or viewing players' performances. It became a way of players finding out what they could do better. And it became a way of players setting goals they could actually achieve in games.
Right,
The work rates went up. Like, and then the penalties came down. The work rates went up. The number of core cleans went down. And suddenly productivity is up. And you felt like someone like Donald O'Callaghan used to... I remember one day he ran around with his hair on fire and he hit 30 rucks. Like, it's insane. But
30 rucks?
Yeah, but he knew he'd hit 25 the previous game and he wanted to beat 25.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, I suppose for fellas who want to beat numbers.
But if you 15 fellas thinking like that, something good's going to happen.
Yeah, of course.
Nothing bad's going to happen. So that's... We started doing that. And fellas then realised that this is not the coach spying on you. This is the coach trying to make you better.
Yeah, of course.
It flips. It took him a while for fellas to say, you know what, yeah, of course, if I miss a tackle, I'm going to get seen. But that's not the point. The point is, how did you miss a tackle or why did you miss it? So how can we fix that so you don't miss another one? Because, by the way, the better you get at this, the better you play. The better you play, the more you're on the team. The more you're on the team, the bigger contract you could argue.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So I suppose there hadn't been those. So lads were just running around as mad as frogs before that, really. You know, I mean, they were just given it.
Well, there was really no evaluation. Like there was a general. Like the other one was, you might say to him, like back in the day, you might say, "I thought you played badly," and he said, "Well, I thought I played well."
Yeah, so there was an argument there. It was a matter of opinion.
Well, it's a matter of opinion. If it's written down in numbers and it's on a video, there's no. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And that's good because you're actually putting a metric on a performance, which in any business you have to do.
Oh, of course, yeah.
You know, if you were producing widgets in a factory, you'd have to do it.
Yeah.
So why is it different on a rugby field? It's a business.
And when you went to what was the Lions tour like? Because you were with, was there any crack in that to be had at all? No. I just got a feeling from even the small bits of footage you saw of you. It's like this isn't like, Eddie's bag at all. Like
it was like slow root canal surgery, anesthetic.
Because the likes of, Jesus, I remember.
Well, I will say, I applied for that job, and the reason I probably would have got it, but England won the World Cup.
Yeah.
So Clive was the obvious choice, and rightly so. If I'd won the World Cup, I'd be pissed off.
Yeah, if you didn't get it, yeah.
And I actually like Clive, because I'd met him, we coached under 20s against each other back in the 90s.
All right, you bet him.
Yeah, he had an England team. Andy Robinson was his assistant coach. We beat them down in Greystones one day, the last play of the game. But I knew him, and he's a good guy. I actually like him.
Okay.
Like, I suppose some people don't, but my dealings with him, he was actually very innovative, which kind of, I respect that, because I always felt as a coach that if a team are playing against you, they should be not looking forward to it, because they don't know what you're going to pull out of the hat. Like,
right, yeah.
If a team plays you and they know what you're going to do, like that's almost like you failed.
Yeah.
Before you start. So Clive was innovative. Now, he was an ideas man. And I think when he won the World Cup, he had a lot of really strong characters in that team. Martin Johnson, Lawrence Lalio, Jason Leonard, you know. And I think he was an ideas man. And Clive would come up with 10 ideas, and 8 of them were insane, but 2 of them were really good.
Okay.
And you needed someone as a filter.
Yeah.
And that worked very well. I mean, they were the best team in the world when they won the World Cup. No doubt about it.
Yeah.
That was like, in fairness to him, like he nearly got shot after the World Cup in 99 because they got knocked out. They got knocked out with a lot of drop goals by South Africa.
Yeah.
Can't plan for that. But anyway, he got a chance and he took it, and they were the best team, and he plotted. And again, he took a lot of stuff out of America. Like, he's specialist kicking coach, specialist defence coach. You know, he's ahead of his time. But the Lions tour, I think what happened is that there was kind of no filter from, and his principles were good. He knew that the previous Lions tour in 2001 was a bit of a mess because they hadn't enough players on the tour.
Yes, yeah.
And like one of the players and the 2001 tour was on holidays in in Australia.
Yeah.
And ended up sitting on the bench for the last test. Like,
yeah.
I mean, think about it.
Mental. Absolutely mental.
But Graham Henry was the coach on that tour, and he wanted to keep it very small and very tight. In fact, I was supposed to go on that tour as kind of a coach to the Wednesday team.
Okay, yeah.
And it was Donal Lennon's idea, because Donal knew me from working with Ireland.
Yeah.
And Henry wouldn't have it.
All right.
So they went out without a Wednesday coach. And that tour fractured completely. Like, you had Austin Healy went off the deep end, and it was all like, and it all melted.
Matt Dawson as well, did he?
Matt Dawson as well, because they felt the Wednesday team were just like left to their own devices.
The Shags.
So in fairness to Woodward, he was trying to address that. He was trying to address the shortage of players, so nobody is taking their holidays on the beach to sit on the bench for a test game, and that the Wednesday side were catered for.
Yeah.
So that's why we ended up with 44 players.
Yeah.
Which isn't a bad idea.
Mm.
But we also had like nearly 44 staff. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I think he didn't get the balance right. It got too big. It was like a 3-ring circus.
Yeah, there was...
And he couldn't control it, and it got away from him. And he got bogged down a bit with the media side of it as well.
She brought, was it Alistair Campbell?
Yeah, it was again a guy I really enjoyed being with, like.
Right.
Very smart guy, but he was a fish out of water. Like, I mean, firstly, the rugby media hated him because he was a political guy, so that was off the bat. He was not liked, and he's a very nice fella, actually. I really enjoyed. I spent a bit of time with him, beer, and had a chat, and I'd still keep the odd in touch with him. You know, he's a good guy, but he was off on the wrong foot because he was a political guy.
Yeah.
And then I thought that the British media at that stage had enough of Clive, and they were actually gunning for him. So his own media were out to get him as well.
Yeah. So
like once things started going wrong, it was all in. Like, but someone said to me, "When did you realise that the Lions tour was beginning to circle the pan?" And I said, "In the Vale of Glamorgan before we left."
Shite.
Exactly.
Really?
Because it was so unwieldy. Like, it was so unwieldy. It was all over the place. There was too many players, too many staff. The whole thing, like, it was just... I knew what he was trying to do, but it got away from him.
Yeah.
He needed something in the middle. And I think, to be fair, I was talking to John Feehan there at a charity the other night. Now, John was the CEO of the Lions.
Yeah.
And he would have been around that time. And we were talking about that. He said, that Lions tour in New Zealand was a disaster. But they learned so much out of that mess, like...
Of course, yeah.
The next tours, 9, 13 and 17 were all much better because of the mistakes that they learned on the 4-5 will never be repeated again.
Yeah.
But Clive wasn't completely crazy. He just went a bit too far and he couldn't control it.
Yeah.
And had he replicated what Graham Henry did in 1 and got beaten, he'd have been flayed as well. But he actually didn't get the balance right. But I would have great respect for the fact that he tried to change it. He tried to innovate.
Yeah.
But... probably lost in the detail. Got lost in the detail. That was it. The bigger picture was okay, but he got lost in the detail.
And I suppose we're closing for time. Wait, come here. What's your reckoning on? Like, my opinion, watching rugby down through the years, you were the one that, like, you won us 3 Triple Crowns, and by the skin of our...
They don't matter anymore.
They don't matter anymore, but we'd all to look for... We'd nothing for 20 years before that. Like.
But we haven't won too many Triple Crowns either since.
No, we haven't. And on top of that, like
we won one in 09, obviously, with the Grand Slam.
And you gave us...
And we won it again.
You gave us great bragging rights. Like, was it 4 years on the trot? We clattered England.
Yeah.
I got into some serious arguments over that a few times, like, but it was, that's just me. But with the ball rolling the way it is now, I mean, Ireland is in some shape, club-wise, like province-wise and national-wise.
Province-wise, I'm not sure. I think Ulster and Munster are yet a little bit in the doldrums.
Yeah.
Connacht are getting back to where they were.
Are we been hard on them? Because, I mean, in England, have they 40, like,
No,
or do we just expect a lot from ourselves?
What we do, our expectation is very high.
Yeah, okay.
But let's be honest, Ulster have underperformed for a number of years
Yeah.
now. They've been kind of beating themselves more than much. I think the problem for Munster is because they were the big dogs for so long and everybody loved them, that the expectation was that would continue. But look, that team went through its transition, and I suppose they didn't replace it well. It took time, and it's been limping along a bit now. But still, people think they should be in the semi-final of the Heineken every year, which is that's been the top four in Europe.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's not just it's the top four teams in Europe. But anyway, so expectations high on Munster, but again, this is a big year from you don't want Leinster are definitely head and shoulders with everybody at the moment. But no, there's a reason for that. It's very simple. Leinster have so many talented players coming through the school system.
Yeah.
They've a lot of big schools in Leinster producing really good players. And even look at the influence Leinster are having outside of Leinster, like the number of Leinster players that are in Ulster and Munster and Connacht.
Yeah.
That's the way it is. And that's not a bad thing either. So I think that the provinces are doing pretty well. Leinster are top of the pile, no question about it. But that sort of depth and talent has a knock-on effect with the Irish team.
Yeah, of course.
Like Joe Schmidt, to be his credit, he's a brilliant coach, but what he learned from the last World Cup is that lack of depth hurt him.
Yeah.
So now if you look at where he is now, this is why reason to be optimistic.
Yeah.
I went through the Irish squad there, and I would say in every position there's nearly 4 players now.
Scrum half?
I haven't finished the sentence.
Sorry.
Bar. Right? Scrum half is actually okay.
Yeah.
Because Conor Murray's the best in the world.
Yes.
So you're not going to have the second best in the world.
Of course, yeah,
right?
yeah.
But the 3 boys in behind him, like Marmion, McGrath and Cooney are very good players.
Yeah.
Sexton is the kingpin. Obviously, Carberry is next man up. And I thought Ross Bourne was outstanding last week.
He was class.
Yeah.
He was class.
So, I think Joey's feeling like I have a cold breeze around him at the moment after last Saturday because Bourne delivered.
Yeah.
Now, the only position that is really, really exposed him is fullback.
Yeah.
There's no number 2 fullback.
Yeah.
And Rob Kearney, who I've huge time for, is a fantastic player, has a penchant for hamstring injuries.
Yeah.
And
was he 33 now, is he?
Yeah, but he's had a litany of injuries.
Yeah.
I think some of them he's had over 20 hamstring injuries. And it's a nightmare injury. It can go any time.
Yeah.
And the problem with Kearney for a number of years when he didn't hit the straps, people were giving out of him, is that he never had a run of games.
Yeah.
When he gets a run of games, I thought he was outstanding in the last year of Six Nations when we won the Grand Slam. He was outstanding.
Unreal, yeah.
But if Rob goes down, there are obvious replacements like Andrew Conway or Jordan Armour, but they have to play there every week at a high level under pressure.
Yeah.
And that's the one fly in the ointment. But hey, I used to go into World Cups and there was more than one fly. So,
so a bag of flies. I mean, I know you could never even dream of opening the gates, but have you seen what Zebo is doing at France at the minute?
I just think that's a bad policy, cutting these guys out.
Do you?
I really do. I think Ian Madigan's a fantastic 10.
Yeah, he's a class 10.
I've always been a huge admirer of his. He's not the finished product, but that's what coaches are supposed to do.
Yeah.
And I think Zebo's an outstanding talent. He's got the X factor. And I think Donncha Ryan being shifted off as well.
Lord.
Donncha Ryan was just outside the pecking order when I was in Ireland. He was just beginning to come through.
Sure, look who was ahead of him.
Well, you had Paul and you had Donncha and you had Malcolm O'Kelly,
Yeah.
So, and you had Leo Cullen and you...
Mick O'Driscoll was probably ahead of him too in Munster, I suppose.
So anyway, look, they're 3 guys that I think are... It's a pity they're not involved, That's only 3. But look, that's the policy has gone. But it just shows you how strong we are in terms of our talent that we can
put in a policy like that.
Send 3 guys to Coventry like that.
Yeah.
I mean, South Africa tried it and had to reel it in.
Yeah, that's true, actually. I suppose. So, Jesus Christ.
But then again, we're much better than South Africa.
Yeah.
We're well ahead of them on the pecking order.
We are, yeah.
Last year we put a record score on them. So, we are second in the world. Not by accident, by rights.
It's justifiable, isn't it?
There's nobody can say that they're better than us other than New Zealand. And I would argue that. And few weeks' time we'll find out who's the bragging rights after that.
Yeah. I mean, they showed they're fallible too, like.
They are what, the worst thing that can happen to everybody else in the world is when New Zealand have a couple of losses.
Oh, yeah.
It focuses the mind.
Yeah, well, you see what, yeah.
But look, it'll be like this time last year, everyone was bemoaning the fact that New Zealand weren't playing England, just the clash of the Titans.
Yeah.
How that has changed.
Oh, yeah, big style.
England are in damage limitation mode.
What does they do with Eddie now? I suppose he has to stick out until after the World Cup, I suppose, really, doesn't he?
After the World Cup.
Yeah.
He's suicidal to change it now,
So, are you aware of balls.ie actually have a whole segment on Eddie-isms? Are you aware of this?
No.
Because I thought I was the only person who picked up on Eddie-isms. Because there's times when you're going, because you keep quite straight-faced when you're doing the punditry, and I'm going, how is he doing it? Because you're using things like you can't unring that bell, and it just, I'm going, how he's doing that for the crack for sure, like. But
no.
But what about, like, you had? I thought my favorite one was taken to the woodshed.
Oh yeah.
There's something sinister about the sound of that, like.
Yeah, that was. Yeah. Well, it's actually. I didn't make that up. It's a saying. It's an American one. Like it's common. Like you take somebody to the woodshed. Like it's stupid. Like if a dog was misbehaving, you take me to the woodshed.
You get both barrels, like, yeah. But my favorite one of the whole lot, and I don't think it was in your book. I think it was in Paul O'Connell's book. It was, you were giving out about the boys the way they were rucking. They were rucking so messily, and you're talking about poor old Peter Stringer that when looking for the ball, he may as well be looking for a Mars bar and a bucket of shite. It was probably one of the greatest. They can't be outdone. It can't be outdone.
Yeah, I was quite animated that day.
Were you?
I was, yeah. I remember, like, yeah, Peter was just like, he needed a shovel to get the ball out of the rocks. Like, so I just said, it's funny, those type of things, they're funny, but you know what? They're metaphorical and they resonate with guys.
Of course, yeah.
I mean, I remember David Wallace saying that to me, that I said things that fellas laughed at, but he said, when you're in the middle of a game and it comes to your mind, what it triggers something in your head.
Well, it's new. It's different than just bollocking somebody out of it. Like,
I didn't say it just to be funny. I would say it just to, this is really important. And if guys get that and makes it resonate with them, that's the whole point of it.
Of course, yeah.
So there's a bit of a method, my madness,
Long way to continue. Eddie, thanks a million.
Thanks very much.
And there you go. The very fucking brilliant Eddie O'Sullivan. Those Eddie-isms are a real thing. They genuinely listen out for him next time he's on the radio. They're fucking brilliant. And I'm convinced the other night, because we talked about him, he was on off the ball and he must have slung in about 7 or 8 of them. Fucking brilliant ones. Thank you very, very much to Eddie O'Sullivan. That won't be the last, of course, of Eddie O'Sullivan. We'll probably stick him together with somebody else for the absolute fucking crack for another one. And like I said, follow me on all social platforms to keep an eye on what's coming up in the way, and just having the fucking crack. People interact. Search for Tom O'Mahony Comedy. We'll find it on Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, and on the old chatty snaps, which I'll reply to you. I throw up the odd thing, but really it's Jesus, it's a lot of work, lads. It's a lot of work to be doing so many platforms. I need a PA. I need a fucking PA. Anybody want to work for nothing? Just to hang around. We can chat. We can drive to gigs and stuff. It'd be great. But I am on the chatty snaps on Tom Bear O'Mahony is the name there. If you want to hit me up, I'll reply. Anybody is a testament to that. Anybody who's most of the podcast listeners that have actually contacted me, they've gotten a fucking reply. I don't not reply. It might take me a day or two because old chatty snaps doesn't tell me as fast as Instagram does. Instagram will tell me that somebody has messaged me. Fucking chatty snaps is it's a fucking mystery to me. Like I said, have a gander for the gigs on the website at tommahony.com/gigs. What else have I to tell you? But also, thank you very much once more time to all the Patreon people. I will have the sound absolutely tickety-boo. That probably blew the fucking ears off you there already. Tickety-boo for next week. So, I mean, obviously my apologies, but look, it would seem nobody's looking for an apology. You're a sound bunch of bastards. Now, do you know what you do? Go on away and have a fucking smashing weekend.